that you have the flow of traffic that is going to go through there, that is going to generate the small business and entrepreneurs to want to invest in the community.
Hi, I'm Brittany.
My pleasure.
Okay. So how, if you're the district commissioner, this roadway, this improvement
Right.
is in your district.
Correct.
How do you then manage it over the next 3 years to get to what you want to see at the end result?
Well, first and foremost, it's going to take having collaborative effort on the business people who already occupy the area. And they need a master plan, and that's what does not exist currently for the 6th Street corridor.
Okay.
And so upon putting together that master plan and bringing all the players to the table, because often decisions get made without all the players to the table. So it is about a negotiative process and bringing these people to the table and making sure that they have a voice in what is going to benefit them, and in turn taking a look at advertising outside, endogenous people outside, and determining what it is that they would like to bring to the table. And then we meet at the table to come up with good decisions about what it's going to take in order to create an economy for that area.
Okay.
And in my opinion, based on the current economic market, you need a Go Green concept, has got to be for that area, as well as it has to continue to look at the legacy of the historic value of what's happened in that city. I grew up in that area, and my family and 2 and 3 generations. My grandmother came here in 1918 and was born here. So I'm saying that I know the area very well, and a large part of what has been annexed out and carved out and divvied out has lost a lot of its legacy value. And you cannot build a community from outside. You have to build it from within. It has to be those endogenous people that is going to bring forth what is needed in order to transform that community. And that's just only one segment of District 3 that happens to have more of the historical legacy, but there are other areas as well.
And then once you get all these business people and all the players at the table, what do you bring? What would be your part of the vision? In other words, is, everybody starts talking, well, I think it should be this, I think it should be that. You have the kind of connection you have to it. What would you think?
Well, what I bring to the table is that I happen to have a PhD in conflict resolution and analysis, and I spend time training and understand what to do with mediation, what to do with facilitation, and what to do with an evaluative process. So I'm very process-oriented, and I think that I bring to the table the kind of leadership or more stewardship on what it takes to be able to balance all the parties that sit at the table in order to meet some kind of solution so that we have something. We don't spend another 20 years talking about it. We spend at least the next 3 years putting a plan of action so that it's delivered maybe by the next person in 3 years, because bureaucracy moves slow. But if we got that, then that's a plus.
You think that's what sets you apart from the others running for District 3?
I think what sets me apart from them is that I'm multifaceted. I've had the opportunity to work both domestic and internationally. And I am trained with the sense of understanding the cultural diversity of people, especially in District 3, who have a community that has far more than just the original immigrants who were here. We have new immigrants that are here. We're going to have to start meeting some of their basic needs and understanding. We also have, pockets of what I call mini-micro pockets of people who are from other diverse, who've been here all their lives, but from other diverse cultures. So I'm set apart in understanding the dynamics of that, and more so because I have a quantitative degree. I have a master's degree in quantitative economics. I do understand the money phenomena of it, and not just the psychological and sociological aspect of it.
Yeah, are you campaigning door to door in that area?
Yes.
What do the people tell you are the 1 or 2 things that are really on their mind, the biggest concerns?
In Riverland, one of the biggest concerns is also senior housing. That's one of the biggest things. They need recreational centers where people who are now declining in age and may have to give up their home will have a place to go that they don't have to search outside. So those needs are no different than some of the needs that are in the other aspects of the community. Crime is another issue. But crime is one thing that we've been talking about for many decades, many years, until we began to take a real look at the structural issues that's associated with crime. It's going to exist. So we have to take a look at what is the function of crime, and that's going to be poverty. Unless we decide to take some real effort on what we're going to do about poverty, we're going to have to do something about it. And the other aspect of criminality is greed. So until we can place the balance between the poverty and the greed, we're going to continue to have the kinds of problems that exist, especially in areas that is considered blighted.
Do you think the district gets the attention that it needs from the city?
No. And let me say why. Over the last 20 years, or what I can say in the last 10 years, I think that people are apathetic of the process. And the reason, I think, being is that the process, although it has not been fair, it has not done what it needs to do to reach out to people to make them aware. Like currently right now, most people don't know that we have an election that's coming February 10th. And I see very little media. I see very little aspect in terms of the city in approaching that, and especially for District 3. The data says this. In the last 20 years, Carlton Moore has won that seat with 1,350 votes. And, or it's been less than 10%, which means the other candidates had about 2,000 votes. So you're talking about a district that got over 24,000 people in it. It says something, and there are registered voters that are there. So it says very much something about the process. The process is going to have to bring people to the table and make them aware of the participatory process. We don't do that. We create games. You have to juggle with everything. It's just unfair. The whole situation behind the interim seat for our community and the person who was running for the office. I mean, they create these jungles that people need to walk through. They shouldn't have to walk through that. A process is what it is. We follow the process and we let due process take place. When you stand up against that and have political courage against that, you become then the bully, or you become then the radical, or you get all these names attached to you. But the bottom line is that somebody has to begin to speak up for what is fair for the process. And that's another reason while I'm sitting at the table, because I'm just sick and tired of it. I mean, something needs to happen that people are given a fair chance and not just being written off as they just really don't care. A large part of the caring because is that after time and time, due to poverty and other issues, that people just become disenfranchised and say, hey, enough is enough, nothing is going to happen anyway. Why?
Okay.